deliver. All right, want to talk to ISIS?
Please. ISIS in Indiana, please save me.
I'm not sure if I can save you, but
What would you like to talk about?
I'm so nervous right now. I can't believe I'm on the phone with you guys.
Aw. Don't be.
I know. I'm trying to calm myself down. Like, my heart is racing 20 miles per hour. It feels like.
Aw, you're good. Take your time. What's up? What'd you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm having trouble deconverting.
Okay.
Not really. Yes and no. So it's kind of tough for me to talk about. So I've been basically grown up in the church or raised up in the church most of my life as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a young adult, there was a part of my life where I decided I wasn't going to go, right? But after you've been basically domesticated into religion, it becomes a part of you. So when I became an adult, I went back. And to the extent of me becoming a minister, twice ordained. And as I studied to try to prove that what I was believing in was to be true, so I could have evidence and proof if I was ever approached by someone that needed me to prove what I was teaching and believing to be true,
Mm-hmm.
I found the contrary of what I thought I was going to find. And now I'm faced with this, I don't want to say it's an issue, but this puzzle of trying to basically put my life back together, unlearn everything that's been taught to me as being true. I've come across anger and resentment and frustration. Like, all these emotions are building up in me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, I know this is not true. And then other days I'm like, okay, well, where the heck did that come from? You know, I don't have proof that this is true, and I don't want to believe it anymore because I don't have evidence that what people have been telling me and what I've been telling everybody else to be true. But there's so much that's unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like, sometimes I have a hard time articulating via speech because I'm a writer.
Yeah, I feel you there.
I hope that was clear enough for you guys to understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds very similar to a lot of the stories that I've heard and a lot of what I experienced. I wanted to be, I like knowing things, right? And knowing about God and your belief system is the most important kind of knowing there is when you're in that culture. And so, of course, you're going to do research, and that's admirable that you wanted to have those answers ready for other people. But yeah, it's a very common story. I wanted to help convert other people and ended up deconverting myself by accident. Yeah, I feel that. In terms of how much there is still to know and how much you don't know, it's scary. It is. It's scary to realize you don't have the answers to everything, and that it's not a let go and let God situation anymore. You don't get to say, I don't know, but that's fine. I don't need to know. God knows, and I can now stop thinking about it. It requires a lot more energy, in a way, to actually go out and pursue answers to things that you don't know. And it also requires that you are able to kind of prioritize what is important and what you need to know now and what you don't need to know right now. So I'm curious, can you give me an example of something that is kind of scary and unknown right now that maybe you're struggling with?
Prior to, well, the weird thing about it was after I decided to just leave the church in general, because I was like, okay, well, I can't put on a poker face. You know, like I can't continue to do this, and yet I not believe it, and I'm up there preaching, but I'm not believing anything that's coming out of my mouth. So because of guilt of me teaching something that I wasn't living, I couldn't do it anymore. And so surprisingly, it was like a relief the first few months. But then, you know, the concept of hell came in, and I'm like, okay, well, can I be afraid of that if I'm not sure if it's even reality, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm scared of it. Sometimes I'm not. Really, it's just like, it depends on the day. Like, sometimes I'm worried about, okay, if I die, am I going to go somewhere? Am I going to be punished? Really, it depends on the day, the hour, the minute. A lot of it is me really coming out of people, you know, letting people know that this is not what I believe anymore. That has been the biggest struggle. I've already lost a lot of people in my life that I considered as friends. And people that I've associated with myself in the congregation that I thought would never leave me have, to the point of calling me Satan himself. So that's another scary thing. It's very lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, not having the support.
Yeah. Something you said struck me. You said, what if I die and I'm punished? And to me, I had a similar fear. And then I realized, what would I be being punished for? Because the reason I'm not going to church anymore is because I'm too honest to go to church anymore. I am not going to stand around people and lie about where I am and what I think and what I believe. If there is a God and that God is all good, that God is going to respect my honesty more than my showing up on a given Sunday and lying to his face about believing in him or not. You are being amazingly, radically, painfully honest right now, not only with yourself, but with other people in your life, and it's costing you. And that is a level of honesty that honestly Christians should respect, because that's what they're all about, right? And that's what their God is allegedly all about.
You would think.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd think.
No, so I think that realizing that if there is an all-good God in a hypothetical universe, who then that God is going to respect the fact that you are being honest right now. And if that God is going to punish you for being honest, it's not a God you want to worship anyway, right?
Right.
And
that's, you know, those are the questions that I have, you know, like sometimes I try to, I don't want to say debate, but have a discussion with other Christians or, you know, Christians that I've previously fellowshiped with. And I will tell them, you know, okay, well, these are the things that I found in the Bible, you know, rape and slavery and kidnapping, all kinds of things that morally I just cannot follow. That's not, I mean, why is he so angry, you know? And they just kind of slide right by it. I'm like, you still haven't answered my question. Like, you are okay with this. Oh, well, that's the Old Testament. We can't have one without the other. Like,
right. You're going to throw the Old Testament out. What's Jesus coming for to save us from again?
Yeah, it's the Mosaic Law.
Yeah.
It's the Mosaic Law.
Right.
Jesus established a new covenant. Didn't you know? Although, I'll tell you right now, I grabbed a Bible and I ripped the Old Testament out and I was like, okay, so I can get rid of it. They were not impressed.
No.
Nope.
No.
But as far as your other fears are concerned too, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in fact, there was two things that you said that really kind of jumped out to me. One of them was fear of, you know, how could you be afraid of something that's not there? And I love watching horror movies that I know aren't real, and they scare the ever-loving shit out of me. You know, I remember watching The Ring back when that came out and sleeping with the lights on. And I think that if you really internalize the idea of hell, eternal torment, that just means that you were able to actually get your mind around, or at least start to comprehend the horror that is hell. Yeah, that kind of fear is, I mean, geez, I used to be afraid of clowns, you know.
I'm still afraid of clowns.
Yeah? Oh, okay. No, this it's going to be good Halloween.
I was a clown last Halloween. I am
No, you were the Mad Hatter last Halloween.
I had clown makeup on. You were concerned. Okay. Sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. I've been. But fear of hell, it's totally understandable, and it's going to take time. And sometimes, and honestly, when it comes to healing, it's never as quick as you want it to be. Mm-hmm. You're sitting back and going, oh my gosh, how has it taken this long? Yep. Mm-hmm. And the other piece that really stood out to me is when you said you feel alone.
Yes.
ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
Is it ISIS?
Yes.
That's one of the prime reasons I wanted to start Talk Heathen. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did this because one of the biggest things we want to say is you're not alone. Because I needed to hear that. And because there's so many people who've walked into here when I started volunteering who just needed to hear that. Someone to say, hey, it's okay. This isn't a new path that you're treading. It's new for you, but other people have walked it too. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, yeah. ISIS. It will.
I try to keep positive.
And you're definitely not alone. Just look in the live chat.
Like, I'm trying not to have tears. I'm like, it gets me emotional sometimes.
Well, yeah.
You know, like, like all your life, that's all I knew. You know, like, they were family. Or, you know, we had picnics together, went to movies and bowling, and, you know, they become part of your family. Mm-hmm. And it's hard when you try to, when that connection, that's the only thing that's connecting you guys, basically. And then you would think that in spite of your beliefs or who you are as an individual or who you become as a human being, that if the love is genuine, then no matter what you do as an individual, they will still be there. But they're not. Mm-hmm. And so here I am trying to figure out how to get this out there to people, because some of them still see me as Minister ISIS, right? Mm-hmm. So when I post something or when I say something, oh, I don't believe that anymore, you know, then the conflict comes. And I'm like, right. I understand that you guys, you know me from who I used to be, but this is not who I am anymore. Like, I can't continue to walk that path because I just can't do it.
ISIS, have you heard of the Clergy Project?
Actually, I just joined the Clergy Project.
Oh, good.
They're wonderful.
Hey.
That's good.
Yes. Yes. And they're very supportive, and they have helped me tremendously. And I've also tried to connect myself with some atheist friends on Facebook. So it's not as bad as it was, but it's still very hurtful.
Yeah.
You know, like, the pain is not gone. And then I feel angry at myself because now I'm on the other end of the rod. Mm-hmm. So when I say things and I get the judgment from the Christians, or, you know, the hate or the condemnation or, you know, whatever it is, like, I'm like, man, that used to be me. Like, I used to treat people like crap. Mm. You know, I was a terrible person, and that just beats me down.
Well,
a lot of the time as well.
When you were a minister, when you were on that other side of the rod, as you say, you were doing it out of a sense of concern and love for the other people, though, right? Like, it was misguided, but it wasn't out of malice.
I mean, you think that you're doing it out of love, but then when it's dished out to you, it definitely doesn't feel like love at all.
It can be helpful, though, maybe to realize that they think that's what they're doing, at least. And that's not making excuses for them. And that's not saying you don't have every right to be angry and upset and feel betrayed, because you do. But remembering that when you were in their shoes, it was out of a genuine concern for the other person, because they still believe in hell, right? They still believe these things, and they want to save you, and they're doing it in a fucked up way, and it's not helpful, and it's hurtful. But I don't know. I know that helped me when I realized, oh, they're not trying to be dicks, at least most of them. They're mostly trying to actually reach out to me, and it's just backfiring terribly.
Yeah.
Right.
I can only nod and go, yep. Yep. I remember having a particularly rough night talking to a friend until almost sunrise. It was late, and I looked at him and I said, so you'll be happy in heaven? He said, it's eternal happiness. And I said, how could you be happy if you knew that I was in hell? You love me. And I'm talking to somebody I know loves me. And he just stopped. And he just started to cry. And he said, I don't know. I don't know how I could be happy knowing that you were in hell, but I want so bad for you to come back so that you don't go to hell. And the idea that he was trying to be a dick just doesn't gel. Yeah.
Yeah, as you kind of explore the Clergy Project a little bit, and as you start finding those online communities, including, our Reddit, our Discord, we have places where people who watch this show come to talk, and your story will certainly be understood and empathized with there. But as you continue through this, make sure to give us a call back and let us know where you're at, and if it's questions that you've come up with that might convince you back, we want to know those. But also, if you're just struggling with something,
I don't think there's anything that should make me go back.
Yeah, that's generally the feel once you get out. You're like, what? Nothing's gonna drag me back. Well, welcome to the family, open, ISIS. This is your community now too.
Damn straight. And you're getting love rings.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
It.
Take care.
Thank you. You guys have a great day, okay?
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
I'm just thinking about that Christian friend. I miss him a lot now.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to see if he would answer the phone if I called him.
Get in touch? Yeah.
Okay. Take a breath. That was really heavy.
That was heavy. We're getting a lot of really good calls today, though.
We are.
I'm loving this.
Definitely.